I cannot believe it's actually been 5 years since we were blessed with quite possibly the greatest college football team of all time. You see, the 2019 LSU squad had everything. A Heisman-winning quarterback who would set records every time he threw a pass, a wide receiver core that NFL teams can only dream of, a lockdown defense, an undefeated 15-0 record, and a national championship. I find myself thinking about this team quite often and how I don't hear enough people talking about just how good this team was. So today, we're going to be looking at the 2019 LSU Tigers 5 years later. I feel like we need to start with the expectation coming into the season. Everyone knew LSU was on the rise under Ed Oregon as they just finished 10-3, ranked 6th in the final AP poll. And in 2018, Joe Burrow had emerged as one of the top quarterbacks of the SEC. The 2019 season was supposed to be the year LSU could compete for an SEC title with an older roster, a coach hitting his stride, and an overall swagger that the Bayou had not seen since the Saban days. The Tigers would open up right as they left off as the number 6 team in the country, beginning on a 55-3 win over Georgia Southern, and honestly, no one thought anything of this game. LSU just beat some small FBS school. They'll get humbled when they play Texas next week, right? Well, wrong. LSU and Texas in week 2 was a great game, a tight showing, but LSU had control the entire time, defeating the Longhorns 45-38. Joe Burrow put on an absolute clinic, throwing for 471 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception, making throws like this.
Over the middle, complete to Jefferson, first down, on his way, and that might be the knockout punch.
LSU would ride this big win to the 4th spot in the AP poll before defeating Vanderbilt, Utah State, and number 7 Florida. In the first half, it was back and forth. LSU would score and then Florida would tie it right back up. It wasn't until the 4th quarter the Tiger defense would come up clutch and shut down Florida, allowing LSU to take the big win 42-28. After a nail-biting 23-20 win over number 9 Auburn, LSU would officially rise to the 2 spot in the AP and college football playoff poll. This was perfect timing as they'd have to play at number 3 Alabama, another instant classic, going up 33-13 at half before the Crimson Tide would do what all great Nick Saban teams do, which is fight back, scoring 14 points in the second half to make it 33-27. A run by Clyde Edwards-Helaire would make it 39-27 before Bama would answer right back, making it just a 5-point game. Burrow would lead the offense again before Helaire would punch it in to make it 46-34. Then Tua Tagovailoa and company would score quickly, but would fail to recover the onside kick, securing LSU's victory 46-41. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the X factor, creating 180 total yards and 4 touchdowns, and LSU was quickly emerging as the best team in college football, taking the top spot in the AP poll. Joe Burrow emerged as an almost Heisman lock with 3 games to go, and all 3 of these games would be routs over SEC opponents who looked completely outmatched, finishing the year off with a dominating 50-7 win over Texas A&M, officially claiming the SEC East title. If LSU wanted to be a lock for the college football playoff, they'd have to defeat number 4 Georgia in the SEC championship, which they did with no problem, 37-10. Joe Burrow put on a stunner, 349 yards and 4 touchdowns, and while this was a great game for the Heisman favorite, it was a complete team win with Justin Jefferson doing his thing, 7 receptions, 115 yards and a touchdown, Terrence Marshall 2 touchdowns, Derek Stingley creating 2 picks, with the rest of the defense creating explosive plays to ensure the Bulldogs offense never got going down the stretch. This game locked LSU into the college football playoffs and as the heavy favorites for the number 1 seed. On December the 14th, Joe Burrow would easily win the Heisman Trophy over Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, and Chase Young. 2020 would come and LSU would be given the number 1 overall seed, facing Jalen Hurts and the number 4 Oklahoma Sooners in the Peach Bowl. And I wish I could tell you that this game was a great close battle, but yikes, the score speaks for itself, 63-28, just complete domination on all accounts by LSU. This game was historic as Joe Burrow threw for an insane 7 touchdowns, breaking the all-time record for passing touchdowns in a single season. This game was just another example of what we had come to expect from LSU. 49 points in the first half. Justin Jefferson had a record-breaking 227 yards and 4 touchdowns, proving why he deserved his All-American selection. While Jamar Chase was quiet, he was still making plays while also creating attention to open Jefferson up. The national championship game in New Orleans wasn't going to be a cakewalk, or it wasn't supposed to be, as LSU would be facing the defending national champions Clemson, led by sophomore phenom Trevor Lawrence. This game gets underway, and it's all Clemson early, jumping out to a 17-7 lead before LSU would get in a rhythm, scoring 21 unanswered points, going up 28-17 at the half. LSU's defense would create problems for Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and T. Higgins throughout the second half, while on the other side, the Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase connection proved to be too much, and when the game clock hit 0, the LSU Tigers had officially won their first national championship since 2007 under Nick Saban. Joe Burrow was named the offensive MVP, putting up another generational stat line, 463 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and 0 turnovers. Ed Oregon would officially be put in college football immortality with a complete turnaround. Joe Burrow would finish the season with 5,600 passing yards, 65 total touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions. Jamar Chase, 84 receptions, 1,700 yards, and a school record 20 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, 111 catches, 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 14 1,400 yards and 16 touchdowns. Defensively, Derek Stingley getting 6 interceptions as a freshman was absolutely insane. Ed Oregon would win Coach of the Year, with 5 Tigers winning All-American honors. As we all know, Joe Burrow would be the first overall pick to the Cincinnati Bengals in 2020, leading them to a Super Bowl appearance with his top guy Jamar Chase in 2022. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL, getting slept on by basically every team in the first round of the 2020 draft. In total, 24 players from this team made the NFL, one of the highest numbers ever. This team is so special to me. I can remember so well being a middle schooler right before COVID, watching Joe Burrow absolutely dominate every team in his path, throwing dimes to Justin Jefferson to Jamar Chase. It was just a different era of ball back then. And just to think how the game has changed in 5 short years with all the NIL money and such. Can you imagine Joe Burrow and this team with NIL? The 2019 LSU Tigers are a special team that can be put up against many of the greatest teams of all time. And I'm not going to lie to you, in my eyes, they are the best team of all time. There's just too much talent for me to say otherwise.